G'day everyone. Today we're changing out the rocker cover on this Toyota Hilux. It's an N70 Hilux with the 1KD-FTV engine from the mid-2000s. Now this is the same engine we'll find in the Prado and the Hiace of the same era. Now the reason we're changing out this rocker cover is because the original one is plastic, and over time with heat cycling and vibrations they do tend to crack, and they tend to crack in the same places. I have 4 cracks on this one, and the only reason I know it's cracked is because it does start to leak oil everywhere. So if you have an oil leak, it may not be the seals and the gasket, it may be cracked. And have a look, they are hairline cracks, as you can see here. And I dug them out with a die grinder and glued them up, but I'm not quite happy with that repair. So I actually bought this aluminium aftermarket rocker cover. They're about 150 bucks, and this one came with all the seals and gaskets. We could buy the OEM one again, and we'll probably get another 15 years out of it. A little bit more expensive, and I do feel it may crack again. So we have this aluminium one. We'll go step by step, pull everything off, and we will refit this rocker cover to replace the cracked one. We do need a couple of specialized tools. I have a 17mm crow's foot spanner here that we're going to use to torque up the injector lines, and do be careful, them injector lines have high pressure in them potentially, and they do need torquing up once we've got them off, and there is a limited number of reuses on them. And of course we also need a torque wrench to torque them up. Other than that, standard hand tools. Let's get started. Okay, I've got a 10mm socket here. We have 3 bolts and we have 2 nuts. We'll get this plastic cover off here. Okay, now we can see the intercooler, and it's very covered in red dust. We have a couple of plugs we're going to need to remove here. We have this one, push down here, and that comes out. And we're also going to need to remove this little vacuum hose here. It's on a little clip. We'll take this hose clamp off here, and there's 4 bolts on that end there, and this last little switch here. Like that. There's a clip here that's already come out, but that's away from there. Hose clamp, 4 bolts, and then we'll lift this out as well. Okay, with that clamp loose and these 4 bolts have been removed, they're all 10mm. These are 12mm, and there's 4 of them. There's one there. We have one here, and the last one is up here. Remove those and we can just pull the intercooler off. Okay, with them all off, we should be able to just lift the front and wiggle this out and remove that intercooler. Okay, with all that off, we're going to cover up our intake, which we've done here to stop any debris getting in. We're going to remove this breather hose and these 4 plugs for the injectors. Just remember where they go. Remove that harness out of the way, and I'm actually going to clean and degrease a lot of the area around the rocker cover where we've had leaks, and then we can remove the 4 injector lines and pull the rocker cover off. Okay, so now we can go ahead and use that crow's foot spanner we mentioned earlier, and we'll just crack each one of these injector lines off using the crow's foot spanner. It has good engagement all the way around the nut. That's what we want when they're tight. We don't want to round them off with an open end spanner. Just be careful, there might be a little bit of residual diesel in there. Mine were pretty dry, but just be careful and just stay clear of any potential pressurized diesel. And then we can just open them all up with a spanner like this. They're not very tight. We can just wind them all the way off and then pop out each of these seals. It's important to get these seals out before we lift the rocker cover, because they're going to stop you removing the rocker cover. We need to pop each seal out, and there is a relief in the top of the rocker cover where we can actually fit a screwdriver just at 12 o'clock on the seal. Once they're all popped out, we can slide them up along with the nut as far back and out of the way as possible. Now, of course, we can loosen all these fuel lines and get them all the way out of the way, but I gave it a go this way and it worked out pretty well, where we can actually just bend them a little bit out of the way. We don't actually create a permanent bend. We just sort of flex them out of the way, and the rocker cover will actually still be removed while the injector lines are intact. We can undo the clamps between them to make them a little bit more free, and we can entirely remove the injector lines if we want. But for the most part, this is pretty good. We just need to carefully lift the rocker cover like I'm doing here away from them injector seals where the plugs are, and we just need to come out to the driver's side of the car here. We're just going to pull it out that way, just away from these injector lines. There's a little bit of fiddling around, but nothing too difficult. We can do this with the injector lines still intact, and I have done it here. It doesn't scratch up the rock cover or anything too much. We just need to be careful and take our time to pull it away and make sure nothing gets caught up on the way. Okay, as we can see, I've taken the rocker cover off. I've come to my sensors and got that wiring harness out the way. I should have done that in the first place. I'm just going to clean up all of this top of the head here. You can see there's a little bit of silicone around where it goes over that camshaft there. I think that's pretty common, and I'll probably do the same. Just put a little bit of silicone or Sikaflex just around that join there, just to make sure we don't get any leaks at the front. I'll put the fuel lines back on loosely just to keep anything out of there. We really want to keep them injectors as clean as possible. We don't want anything getting in, so I've actually put the injectors back on and just screwed them on a couple of threads. I'm going to clean all this up and we will go from there. Okay, that's all cleaned up. I've got rid of all the silicone at the front, and we're going to put a little bit more on, just a smear, just where these joins are and just over the hump here, just a nice small amount. I've cleaned up around these injector seals. The injector lines are still on. I'll take them off at the last minute. And when it comes to the cover, we've got the gasket fitted. Now the plastic one has metal spacers here. Obviously this one is entirely aluminium, so we won't need them. Injector seals, they're in, they actually came in the cover, but they just go this way up. And I'm going to put a little bit of engine oil in those so they slip over the injectors okay. And at the front here, I am just going to put a little bit of silicone just around this edge here on the inside, just so it holds in the rocker cover and seals as well as it possibly can. And we'll flip it over and we'll stick it on, avoiding these injector lines like before. We try not to bend them or scratch the rocker cover, but we'll do the best we can there. And then we will also be changing out these. We're going to take these off and put new ones on. Now the new rocker cover came with a full gasket kit. It also came fitted with the injector seals and the gasket, so we're not going to need them for, or that big one, but we do need the sleeves here for the injector lines, and I'm going to use a couple of the bits from here as well. So it's a bit of a double up, but that's okay. I'm happy to get more parts than less ones. That's the area I'm just going to put a little bit of silicone on. Just a small amount like that should help any potential leaks at the front there. Okay, we can undo these again. I'm going to change these. Okay, we're just going to fit these new ones. Slide this up the way and just slide it on that way around. We'll just do that with all 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll put the cover on over the top. Okay, so fitting the new rocker cover is basically just a reverse of taking the old one off. We're a little bit more careful. Just slowly push each line into its hole there where it needs to go, and we're slowly going to push the cover down. I'm just checking here all the way around to make sure the seal hasn't fallen out, because if it has, you'll pinch it. It sits in a little groove, not very tight, so just make sure you just feel it out just before you push the cover down to make sure the seal is in the groove all the way around. We did silicone a little bit at that timing area where the camshaft goes on the top and the bottom, just to make sure that there is a good seal over that rounded edge. And I did oil up each one of the seals that go around the top of the injector where the plugs are. Once you're happy that they're all clear of the plugs, we can push it down, and you'll feel it go over all them injector plugs, and it will seal quite nicely. You can see here it goes down quite well, and you can feel that it's engaged properly. Okay, with that on, we are going to fit this bracket here. Don't forget this bracket needs to go there, and we're going to put a bolt in it. And we're going to nice and evenly just pull it down without torquing anything just yet. We're just going to pull it down so it is not going to move. Pull our bolts in. Get them started by here if you can. All right, I'm just going to evenly pull that down. Don't forget the nut. 2 of those. We also get a new gasket for our filler, so we're going to put that on. A little bit of oil, and we'll stick it on here. Now we'll torque these up after we've fitted these. We'll push all these in and we'll tighten up all our injector lines. Then we'll torque down the rocker cover. We just want to line them up with the end of the injector, push our seal in, and then we can wind the nut down. Make sure that seals all the way home. We can push it in a little bit later as well if we need to. We'll just tighten them by hand to start with a regular spanner before you do the torque on them. Okay, now we've got them wound all the way down. We're going to torque them up. We've got a calibrated torque wrench here, and we've got our crow's foot on the end. The torque setting is 35 Newton meters if we're reusing the pipes. If we're not reusing the pipes, we're buying new ones, it's going to be a little bit less. It's going to be 32 Newton meters. So here we are, 35 Newton meters and 26 foot-pounds of torque, depending on how you want to read it. Now, there's not much purchase on them because of these new seals, so we're just going to make sure we don't slip, and we just torque them up. There we go. 35 Newton meters. We'll do all four, of course, and then we'll move on and torque down the rocker cover. Okay, the torque setting for the rocker cover is 9. Now, this is the smallest torque wrench I've got that does from 0. So, honestly, 9 Newton meters, just nip them up. But if you want to get technical, there is a torque wrench for such things. We'll do it nice and evenly. I'll just go around and we'll just slowly put 9 Newton meters on everything. We'll just tighten them a little bit evenly first. It's already there. The nuts will be 9 Newton meters really quickly, it seems. Doesn't ratchet. That's 9 there. It's not a lot. It's not a lot at all, so I'm already pretty close. Okay, so they're all torqued down to 9 or thereabouts. I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to put this breather hose back on. Okay, so that breather hose is back on. We'll just tighten that up. Cool. We'll put the harness back on. I'm going to fit some P-clamps, I think, to the harness this time, tidy it up a bit, and then we can put the intercooler back on. Okay, so refitted the harness there. It's all plugged in. What we're going to do, instead of using them plastic clamps that are all brittle and horrible, we're going to fit some P-clamps like this. They shouldn't sit too high. A washer on either side, and that will be a much more robust way of holding this harness up off them injector lines. So I've got a couple of those. We'll fit those up. Okay, so that harness is now back on. We've plugged in the 4 injectors in the right order. The P-clamps are on, which I think are going to be vastly superior to the plastic. They're not going to deteriorate over time. Don't forget to plug that one back in. We've also got a plug just here. We've got our air conditioning plug, and the MAF sensor needs to be plugged back in as well. I haven't done that yet. I'll plug that in, and then we can go ahead and put that intercooler back on. Okay, fitting the intercooler is pretty much the reverse of taking it off. Just make sure the clamp's loose on that hose that goes into the intake manifold. And this intake tube out of the turbo, I'm going to glue on with a little bit of gasket maker here. There is a gasket there, a metal one, which we will still use, but a little bit of gasket maker will help the seal. Okay, the intercooler bolted down. We'll just make sure everything's tight. Now we just need to tighten up this one again. That was our 10 mil. That's tight. And we also need to plug in all of this stuff we unplugged before, including this vacuum hose. Don't forget it. It clips in there and it just pushes in underneath here for that sensor. We have this part of the plug mounts there, plugs in there. We have another one here. While we're here, it's a good chance to check here. You can see these 2 blue lines here I've actually replaced. And this here will tend to crack and leak oil. It's a little filter before the line goes here to this sensor. They do crack and they leak oil, and you may get boost leaks and all sorts of weird problems going on. So have a look while you're under here. Make sure this isn't cracked or leaking oil and these lines aren't brittle like mine were. I've recently changed that out. So have a look at that while we're here, because might as well we're here. Once all these are plugged in, we're happy everything's secure where it should be. That's tight. I'm going to put the 4 bolts in that end there with a little bit of that Loctite gasket maker and just nip them up. All right, we can just push this out of the way and just put a little bit just around the face, just to help it seal a little bit. We don't want any dusting going on. We can avoid it. Nice and clean. Excellent. Have 4 bolts. We'll put them all in loosely first. All right, now that all 4 are in, we'll just nip them up evenly. Cool. Now we'll put the black cover back on, and that's job done. Okay, the cover is very straightforward as usual. We just drop it down. There's a couple of studs at the back to help us locate it. Of course, the nuts will go on the studs, and the bolts will go in the holes. I'm not too worried about the torque spec on these. We're just going to nip them up. They don't need to be incredibly tight. They just need to hold this cover down. Okay, well that is it. The cover's all back on. We're going to run the car, make sure that there's no leaks. I'm just going to check all this harness to make sure everything's exactly where it should be. Nothing's going to rub through. And that is the job done. Thank you very much for watching.